Our last topic of the day, guys, is going to be about Wolfenstein. And we've talked about Wolfenstein, of course, on the YouTube channel up to this point, which, of course, guys, for anything new related, information and content based around Wolfenstein, definitely check out some of that content here on the YouTube channel. But Wolfenstein, guys, I've said in the past, is a very exciting, it's a thrilling series that you can put a lot of time into and just kind of relax and just go through the story and just have a really good time. And I've been wanting to see a true sequel to Wolfenstein 2. And Youngblood, I didn't really feel was that. It kind of felt like to me that Wolfenstein Youngblood was almost like a spin-off, so to speak. It was kind of like in Far Cry. You had Far Cry 5 and then you had Far Cry New Dawn. And New Dawn was kind of like that spin-off, kind of like Far Cry Primal. But it wasn't a true sequel to Far Cry 5, which hopefully we get a Far Cry 6, which we talked about earlier on the show. So Wolfenstein, where is Wolfenstein 3 at this point? Because we got Youngblood, and of course we got Youngblood not too long ago, and now the big question that remains is, when are we going to get a Wolfenstein 3? So let's talk about it. So, in an article that was written by Game Informer, guys, from Javi Waltney, when Wolfenstein Youngblood was announced at E3 2018, many fans of the series raised their eyebrows at the news that the game would be set in the 80s and star protagonist BJ's twin daughters. Bethesda eventually clarified that Wolfenstein 3 is still happening, confirming Youngblood's status as a side chapter to the planned trilogy. So just what is Youngblood's ultimate story connection to the mainline entries? Is it an alternate universe? Is it set after the events of Wolfenstein 3, before Wolfenstein 2? Maybe it takes place before and after Wolfenstein 3, Godfather Part 2 style, with Youngblood finally out today, which of course, guys, this was, this article was written when the game had already was not out yet, which we obviously know that Youngblood Youngblood has been out, and we already know everything regarding that. But Youngblood doesn't actually have that many story beats outside of its introduction and ending. It delivers a lengthy intro before BJ's daughters go to Paris to search for him, but the majority of the game fixated on letting you run amok in Nazi-controlled Paris. That said, the opening does deliver some key bits of information. It's been around 20 years since the revolution at the end of the New Colossus. America is Nazi-free, but Europe isn't. Grace is the head of the FBI. BJ and Anya are raising Jess and Soph in Mesquite, Texas, and teaching them how to be efficient Nazi killers. Set Roth is dead. Some offhand remarks make it clear that Abby, Grace, and Super Speth's daughter was his protege for a bit, thus implying that he survived whatever happened before Youngblood long enough to serve as her mentor. The fates of Fergus, Bombay, Sigram, and Max are never made clear, but the fact that they're nowhere to be seen or even referenced does not inspire confidence that they survived the war. Of course, BJ killed Hitler. The main chunk of the game doesn't flirt with answering narrative questions. Most of the writing is dedicated to in-game chat between Abby, Soph, and Jess that draw out their personalities. It's only when we reach the end of the game that Youngblood starts doing some heavy lifting for the saga again, briefly anyway. At the conclusion of their journey, Jess and Soph meet BJ in an underground complex. He's fiddling with the God Key, an ancient Yichud artifact he uncovered in the New Colossus that Set Roth regarded as powerful but couldn't explain what it does. Here, BJ goes into a bit of a vague lore breakdown of what happened in the years that took place between the New Colossus and Youngblood. So here's some key points. Max Haas played some instrumental role in defeating Hitler and figuring out the God Key. Hitler had some sort of doomsday device attached to him to go off when he died. Think Dr. Strangelove. That device went off and is slowly killing the world's climate somehow. BJ says that he failed to save the world and is trying to figure out how to use the God Key to prevent this climate-related catastrophe from happening. So really, when you think about it, guys, I was saying earlier that with Wolfenstein, just in particular, it's a very fun game that you can just kind of sit down and just enjoy the story, run through it, and just have a lot of fun, right? A great action-based game. But there still is some significant lore and such to this story, if you think about it. There is lore, and there's a lot of just, areas within even just Youngblood itself that could, kind of tell us something about, where the future of Wolfenstein 3 might be headed. And that's really actually, that's quite interesting. The thing about it was that unfortunately for me, I didn't think Youngblood was nearly as good as, of course, the first couple of Wolfensteins that we got, even though the series has been drawn out for so many years, right? I just want to see a true sequel. But really, when you think about it, guys, there's a lot to this story. More than really meets the eye when you first just start playing the game. There's a lot to it. BJ ends his rambling with a twist. Wolfenstein has a multiverse, and the God Key is somehow the way to traverse that sea of multiple universes. He talks about how he's seen doors into multiple worlds, including one where he and his daughters are happy and at peace. Machine Games' take on Wolfenstein is often flirted with the idea of multiple timelines from the beginning, with the choice to save Ferguson or Wyatt, kicking off the New Order. So the acknowledgement of a multiverse is a big deal because it implies that Wolfenstein 3 will finally tie that choice at the beginning of the series to the narrative in a cohesive, unifying way that makes that dilemma something more than just a neat but arbitrary thing you do. However, the existence of the multiverse also makes me wonder if we're going to be time universe hopping in the next game. Could we be playing BJ as he leaps from universe to universe, trying to save his own? How interesting would it be to play as middle-aged BJ taking on Hitler in one level, and then one of his daughters or old BJ in the Youngblood era the next? The modern Wolfenstein has had no trouble mining pulpy aspirations to create wildly memorable scenarios like the bizarre execution scene in the new Colossus, so embracing something as expansive and weird as multiple universes is both promising and fitting within the narrative ambitions of what's come before. Despite not adding a lot of story to Wolfenstein's lore, the few crumbs of details as well as that final revelation have given us an idea of what to expect from the next game, at least on a thematic level. It'll probably be a while until we hear anything about Wolfenstein 3, given the only confirmation we have is Bethesda acknowledging it's in development, but hey, there are more than enough Nazis to kill in Paris to pass the time until then. Which is very true, but I love his take here. Wherever the multiverse idea is so great. I love that idea, and I love how this segment where he says that a middle-aged BJ could be taking on Hitler in one level, and then one of his daughters, or old BJ in the Youngblood era the next. I love that idea where you start toying with different worlds and the universes are kind of colliding and you're starting to look at like time, space, and all of those things. I think that something like that in one of these games that's a very far-fetched game, I think something like that would be absolutely great for a franchise like this. It would just be very different. It would be very unique. I've always said that Wolfenstein was a very unique kind of game. I'm just really excited to see where they go with Wolfenstein 3. But if you were to ask me, guys, where is it? Well, currently, guys, it's in development, and we're just going to have to wait as more information comes out. What would you guys want to see though? Where do you want the story to go? Would you like the idea of of what they're saying here in this article, or what I'm saying as far as it would be really cool to be able to play, be a younger BJ and then taking on an older BJ, and or the same thing with his daughters and things of that nature. Kind of really seeing these universes come together and collide, I think would be very, very interesting in a number of ways. But what would you guys want to see? Where would you want the story to go? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And for more Wolfenstein 3 news, content, and videos, stick with us here on Zero TV.